Hello and welcome back to Data Analysis and Visualization. I'm Javita Christie, and in this video, I'm going to continue with the 3.js library from the previous video where we studied about bar charts and scales. In this video, we're going to see some animations and transitions that you can apply um, to your bar chart. So we're going to create a bar chart again, but in a slightly different manner because I want to show you some animations and transitions. So that's what we are going to be doing here. And once again, I would like to mention that I'm using Notepad++ to write all this code. You can use any text editor that you want to write the code. Remember to save your file as a .html file. And then to run your code, you can just go to the Run menu and run it right here, or you can just go to the folder containing this file and right click on it and click on Open with Chrome. I recommend running all your code with the Chrome browser because that's just going to render it better than others. So you might notice if you used something else, then you might notice some change in your output. It might differ than what I'm getting here. So let's start. First of all, I'm just going to tell you in the beginning what you're supposed to do. So we are going to begin with the HTML tag. This is going to be slightly longer than other code that I have done on this in these d3.js videos. Okay. We are going to go ahead and in the head tag specify the title. So I'm just going to write the title as transition and animation. Okay. And close that. And I'm also going to close the head tag over here. Okay. And HTML also has the body tag, which we are going to open and close here. We also have the /HTML. So this is all done. And if you just run this right now, it's not going to show you anything. It's just going to change the name of the tab on Chrome to transition and animation. So that's all right. We are going to now move ahead and get our script source, which is d3.js. I'm using version 3. Whatever version you're using, you can go to d3.js.org and get that version over here. So this is that thing. I have just copy pasted it. Okay. Now there's this small style tag that I want to show because I don't just want to create a bar chart. I want to create a tooltip as well. So what happens, I have 5 bars and if I go and I hover, so hovering means taking your mouse pointer there. So if I take my mouse pointer to a particular bar, I want that to change its color. So that's why I'm writing this over here. So I'm writing a style. The type tag is not really important, but even if you don't write it, it's going to work. So, but I'm just mentioning it. I'm going to write rect hover. So that means if my mouse pointer goes to that rectangle, then the fill color should become brown. Okay. So it's just as simple as that. If the mouse pointer goes to that particular rectangle, then the fill color should become brown. Okay. Next, we are going to go to the script tag. And this time I'm just going to show you a little bit of variation, and we're going to deviate from what we have done in the previous videos where we wrote the whole script tag in the body. We can write the whole script tag in the head as well. So it doesn't matter, okay? So we are going to write it in the head section instead of the body section, and that is okay. Now, once again, I'm going to mention the type of this script as text/JavaScript. You can choose to omit that if you like. We are going to use the window.onload option, which means as soon as my HTML document has loaded, these things should happen. Okay, so for that to happen, I have created this function. What does this function contain? It contains some positions and quantities. Now, in the previous video, we scaled everything, created a bar chart. In this video, I want to do something different, mainly because I want to also sort the data and create some animation. So I'm going to mention these things. I'm going to mention a position and I'm going to mention a quantity. So two things, position and quantity. Okay. Quantity is showing me what exactly the height should be of each of my bars in the bar chart. And position is going to show me what position will the bar be on the x-axis. So I'm just going to make that 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. There are going to be 5 bars. Okay. So this is one position, and I'm just going to copy this, Control C, Control V, paste it 5 times. I want 5 bars. So 5 times, close this, and then I am also going to, oh, I forgot to put all this in a variable. So yes, this is a variable. Let's call this variable column data, and let's open it here. It's an array. Okay, so this is an array that contains all these things. So let's close the array here. And let's change the quantities. So you can randomly put anything. Let's make this 20. Let's make this 15. It doesn't have to be in ascending order. Right, this one, let's make it 25. Let's make this one 10, and it's done. Next, we are going to put a semicolon here because the variable is declared. Okay, let me just separate this. Okay, I'm going to declare another variable now, which will be my width and height. I'm just going to name it total width. So total width is the width of my canvas, which I want to be 400. Total height is going to be again the height of my canvas, which I want to be 200. Okay. Now, just like we created the scaling functions last time, we are going to do the same here as well. So I'm just going to create 2 variables. I don't know what I named them there. Okay. It doesn't matter whatever you named them there. You can name whatever you like here. They are just variables. Okay. So for the y-axis, we are going to call the d3.scale.linear and specify the domain by writing dot domain. Remember what the domain is, the values of your actual original data. So to do that, again, 0, and up to what extent it's going to stretch. For that, we're going to do d3.max and pass on this column data which we have. So column underscore data, and this will provide all the data from the column, and it is going to scale that over here. Okay. Now I will just close this bracket. d3.max, I'm going to provide this as well as a function d because all this data is bound. So a function d that is going to return the quantity. Okay. So I want the quantity because column data is having two indexes or 2 ways, 2 keys, position and quantity. And for the y-axis, I want to use the quantity, not the position. So that is why I'm using this extra function that we did not use before. Okay. We did not use this in our previous video, previous program. So that's what your y scale would look like. And this is where I'm closing this curly bracket. I'm also closing this round bracket right here. There are lots of brackets to close, so I'm just going to explain it to you one by one. I'm closing this box bracket, which was right here. You can see how the color changes, so you'll understand. And this another round bracket after domain. Be very careful about the brackets. Close them properly. And the range we will have is 0, comma, total height, right? Because that's the range in which we want this to fit. All right. So this is the range within which we want all our data to fit, which would be our 0 to total height, which is 200. We want all this data right here to be scaled from 0 to 200. So that's what we are doing. Dot range 0 comma total height, close this round bracket, semicolon. This variable is declared. Now let's tackle the x variable, which I'm going to name scale underscore x, and right over here d3.scale. This time we will be using ordinal instead of linear. Okay. We do need to specify the range here as well, the range and domain. So let me just do that here. Sorry, dot domain. I would like to, yeah. So domain, and for that we are going to use d3 dot range, and we are going to use once again column data dot length. Whatever is the length, 5 is the length, I want 5 bars. That's all you need to mention. Okay. Next we are going to use range. This time I'm going to use range round bands, and you can go ahead and check what that is from the library documentation. Okay. So here we are going to mention 0 to total width, because this is horizontal, x-axis is horizontal, so we are mentioning this. I'm mentioning 0.05, which is essentially the offset. I want some gap between one bar and another bar. So 0.05 is that gap. You can mention whatever you like. Okay. It will show how much gap should be there between one bar and the next bar. Okay. So the x scale is now fixed. Next, I'm going to define a position variable to furnish the position of each value. And to do that, this is a function that I'm creating. I'll be using it later on, and you'll come to know why. So this is just going to give me d dot position from the column data variable. Okay, it's going to return the d dot position from there. So I'm specifying it right here. Now let's go ahead and create our SVG container. Now this is going to be a very crucial part in how your code is actually going to execute. So I hope you got everything right up to here. If not, please take time and verify your code at this point, because all these variables are very important and you don't want to get anything wrong here. The code is only going to increase from this position. Okay, so let's create another variable. Let's call it SVG container. This is where we will put all our things together. Okay, so to do that, just like last time, we're going to do d3.select and select the body tag. There is no div tag, we're just taking body directly. We are going to append to this SVG like before. Okay, SVG does have attributes like, sorry, attr. Okay, and with attr we are going to specify the width. First of all, width is equal to total width, which we specified. Let me show you right here. So 400. Okay, and in a similar way, height is equal to total height. So let us specify that as well. So this would be another attr, and we're going to specify height, and this is going to be equal to total height. Okay, and put a semicolon over there because this code right here is done. And now we are going to create the rectangle which we want. So just go back there and write down svg container dot select all, and this time just write rectangle. Okay, we are going to bind the data that we have. So the data to be bound is column data comma position. We are binding two things. One is the column data array, which we have here, which we created, position and quantity. and then the position by itself. To get that, we have created this function. So this position variable is what we are mentioning here. So that's what we get. Next, dot enter. Okay, this is the function I've explained before. And next we are going to append the rectangle that we want. Now for rectangle, we need to specify x and y axis. So that's what we will do here with the attr. Specify x-axis. What will be the x-axis? So to do that, we will call a function that's going to bind my data with an index I, and so it will return scale xi. Scale xi is the variable we created here to scale all the x values. Okay, so it's going to do that. It's going to give me values scaled with using the data with a 0.05 offset. Next, let's have another attribute. The next attribute we're going to worry about is y. So the y attribute with the data point. Okay, once again, open the function. This time we are going to return total height, just like we did. This is all very similar to what we did before in the previous program. So total height minus scale underscore y d. Okay, scale underscore y is this variable right here which we created, and that's exactly what we are specifying here. So scale underscore y d, and one more thing, you do need to specify here dot quantity, because right here our variable, which is, let me show you, our column data contains position as well as quantity, which that's why we are specifying both. Okay, let's put a semicolon. This is quite ready. Now let's go back here to the same position. Okay, and this time we are going to specify the width and height of each bar. So x and y are the position on the canvas, sort of coordinates for each bar, but we also need to specify how wide each bar should be and how tall. So we are going to specify the height and length, height and breadth, length and breadth of each rectangle shape that we are creating. To do that, let's just do attr width and scale underscore x range band. I'm sure you're aware of this function by now because this is the last video on d3.js and you probably watched the others. So, and to do the height, we are just going to use the function d, just like before, just what we did here with y-axis. The same thing we are going to do here. Function d, and we are going to return scale underscore y d dot quantity. Okay, we are not subtracting it from height because we are not specifying position, just the height of the bar. So put a semicolon and close this because it was a function, and round bracket. All right, now what I want is to show this fill color. So the fill, and I want to show that to be teal. Teal is a very nice color. I like it a lot. So this is the color that I have selected here. Okay. And we are not done yet. We still have to define two functions and some animations. So I want to now sort. I want to be able to sort the bars. So originally, these bars will be drawn as 5, 20, 15, 25, 10 with that height. But I want to be able to click on a button called sort and sort these values from lowest to largest or largest to lowest, whatever, that doesn't matter. But I want to be able to show some animation and sort these bars right there by the click of a button. So to do that, I'm going to define certain functions within this SVG container. Okay, this bracket that we opened a long time ago, it's going to close after a long time. So now I want to define these functions. First, I'm going to define my sort function. So to do that, let's just go back here. And I'm going to define a variable sort equal to function. And let's name a variable bars to sort equal to. We will be taking two values here, A and B. And this would be returning B dot quantity minus A dot quantity. Okay, in a minute you'll come to know why I have done this. All right, and let's put a semicolon there. Next, specify SVG container dot select all. We want to select all the rectangles that we are creating, and we are going to apply the dot sort, where we are going to specify bars to sort. So the reason now you'll understand is I'm trying to subtract one quantity from another quantity. That way I know the distance or the difference between one bar and another bar, and I can sort them based on that. And I'm going to start my transition tag. Okay, this is going to help me to give some transition. You'll see when I run this, and you can apply some delay. So delay is basically saying after how much time you want to start the transition. I don't want to delay. I'm going to write delay as 0. You can specify some duration there. Duration is showing for how long you want your transition to run. You can increase or decrease this to increase or decrease the speed of your animation. Then I want this X to change, because the height will not change, but the X-axis will change because the bars are now rearranged. So to do that, we are going to do d comma n. We're calling this function again and scale everything once again. So once again, we are scaling all this using the scale x variable that we created before. I hope this is visible. Okay. And pass the value of n inside. So this is a different index we are following because now everything is sorted. It is in a sorted order. Close this bracket, close the curly round bracket, put a semicolon. Okay. Next, I'm going to also close this bracket right here for this function which I was creating. All right. Now, two things to actually run this function, to be able to run this function. One thing is t3.select, and I'm going to specify the tag sort. So sort is the function I have created. And okay, to show you this, let me just go ahead to the body tag and first do this work. Okay. Remember, we are writing all this code in the head tag and not the body tag. So now we are going to the body tag and adding two buttons, that's all. So one button we'll give it an ID, sort, and specify some event. What happens when you click on this? So when you click on this, then the sort bars will be called, and I will let you know what the sort bars is in a minute. Okay, so sort bars, and what will be shown on the button. So on the button, I want the word sort. So I'm just going to write sort and close the button tag. And in a similar way, create another button tag with the ID unsort. Okay, now I just want to keep this uniform. So let's use double quotes here as well. Okay, on click equal to unsort is another function we will be using afterwards, we'll be creating. And on this button, I want the word unsort to be written. So That's it. And I'm going to put a small paragraph tag over here so that there is some gap between these two buttons and the original bar chart. Okay, now let's come back to this d3.select, whatever we were doing here, two functions basically. So two things here. Hash sort means I am trying to access this element right here, this button right here with the ID sort. So I'm just accessing it by writing hash sort. And on what sort of an event? So if it is a click event, I want this to be sorted. And I've already created a function for that, which is okay. So just mentioning that function. Next, you're going to do d3.select, and this time you will again specify hash unsort and write dot on click unsort. So that's it. Those two things are done. I have not defined unsort function yet. I only have defined sort. We are going to, however, define unsort now. So let's go ahead and do that. We will define a function called unsort, which is what will happen when we click the unsort button. So here we will specify, we want everything to just go back to normal. So you will just write container dot select all, pass the rectangle because we want all rectangles to be selected. Now pass the sort function once again, okay? We're going to pass the sort function once again. So just what we did before, this one, bars to sort essentially. This time we are just writing dot sort, okay? We want unsorted, so we are just going to first write dot sort, pass A and B values, okay? What are we going to do with that? We are just going to do A dot position minus B dot position. So this time we are trying to, in order to do unsort, we are trying to sort it based on position because essentially if you just look at your data, oh, I did not give the position, sorry for that. So this should be 0, this one should be position 1, otherwise we'll get all the bars stacked up together. Okay, this should be position 3, this should be 4. Please do that if you haven't done it, okay? And all the quantities. So whenever we wanted to sort the data, we sorted it according to quantity. Now when we want to unsort, we can sort the data again using positions. Because when I sort according to quantity, position is not sorted. But if I sort the data back using positions, then my data will essentially return to its original form. So I can do that by specifying this a comma b return a dot position minus b dot position and put a semicolon. Let's close this and close the round bracket. And let's also now apply some animation to it, okay? So transition. Again, I do not want to add any delay, so I'm just going to write 0. Duration, I want this to be slightly longer, so 1200. Okay. Attribute X, because X is what is getting changed. Just like we did it here, we have to do it here as well. Okay. You can even copy paste this if you like. I'm just going to type it. It won't take long. So specify D and I2 values. Return scale underscore X I. And close the curly bracket, round bracket. Close that. And at this point, you need to close one more bracket, round bracket, which is for this function. So I'm closing that, putting a semicolon there as well. And one final bracket because I am in this position. This is the advantage of having tabs. You'll always know where you are and which bracket you have to close. This is getting closed here. And that's it essentially. Let's save this and let's try to run it. Hopefully everything will go well. I might have a bracket mistake. If it's there, we'll just see it. Okay, let's go back here. Let's see. So there is nothing coming, which means there's an error. And usually in a code of this size, you will run into errors, but don't worry, just go to the inspect section and see if you are able to find an error. If there isn't, then you probably made some mistake in opening, closing tags or something of that sort. Okay. So yes, I did do a mistake, which is I haven't closed my script tag. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, /script. So I have closed this and let me run that. And it does show the thing, but there is an error now. Let me see that error. Unexpected token in line 53. So let's go and check what that is. Line 53 is right here. So there is some unexpected dot token that has come up here. Okay, let me check that. Okay, line 53 is right here. Just before that, there is this total height function. So return total height minus. Okay, there is one bracket missing here, right here. This function has to be closed. The total height and scale function, I haven't closed it. I will close it now. So close that, close that. Okay, let's check it now. Okay, still some error. So one by one, we can just go through this and essentially solve it. So number 58 is right here. There is some error here as well. Okay, so this is about filling the color. Let's see what the error is here. We have height and function d, open the bracket, scale underscore y, d dot quantity, semicolon. This bracket is very well closed. attr fill and du. Now, if you cannot find any error here, you should go and check here. Although let me just read the error. It says missing closing bracket. So there is some closing bracket missing over here. Okay. Let me just check that. Just check the rest, the whole of the code actually, because you don't know where exactly the error is. Okay. And you don't want to get, there is actually one bracket missing here. Okay. Let's run it again. Maybe that was it. No, it isn't it. In line 63, there is a semicolon missing. So yeah, we all make a lot of mistakes. So once again, this is a function and okay, line 63 basically is the function. Am I missing a semicolon here? Return b dot quantity minus a dot quantity semicolon. Okay. Yes, I have added an extra bracket here. So this bracket shouldn't be there. Let's see now. Usually in a code of this length, you will end up into some issue. Okay. Total height is not defined now. This error I can find very easily. So in line 43, essentially, I have made a mistake, which is that I misspelled height, which is H-E-I-G-H-T. Most likely you might not have done that error in your code. So let me run. No errors. I think we're all happy. So this is working fine. And let me show you now how this looks. So when I hover over something, you can see how the data is changing. You can see how the color is changing. Okay, when I go on it, it's um, brown, but when I leave, it's teal again. And how does that happen? This little code right here that we wrote, style. If you hover, make it brown, otherwise not. So that's why it's like that. Another thing, there are sort and unsort buttons. So let me click on sort. Did you notice how everything is now, all the bars are sorted from highest to lowest? And if I click on unsort, then again there is this little animation that, once again puts the bars just the way they were. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed doing this program with me. And if you haven't done it yet, please pause the video or, go back a bit and try it out on your own. And I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.